Let's get into the shot talk today. Obviously, Tennessee Titans Robert Saleh is going down with his coaching hires. White Cotton, who was with him on the Jets on that top defense, is coming over to be the run game coordinator and the defensive line coach. Obviously, Jeffrey Simmons, he'll be coaching him with Devondre Sweat. Hopefully, Devondre Sweat follows suit in the offseason this year of what J.C. Latham and what Jeffrey Simmons did to their bodies. Pause. This offseason really cutting their face. When you see a 300-pound guy with a six-pack, you know that guy's put in work with the fork.
Let me teach you how to vibe.
And with the workouts. So we should get to see some differences in the D-line. And I think that's interesting. The run game coordinator is the D-line coach with run fits and how things work. That makes sense. Last year, Callahan, what was expected out of the run game the last 2 years since Derrick Henry left has been disappointing after he left. With Luke Stocker helping out and them committing to the run post-bye, Titans becoming one of the top rushing offenses in the league down the stretch with the help of J.C. Latham, Dan Moore, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Peter Skoronski, with probably Jackson Slater stepping into that right guard role this upcoming offseason, the 5th round pick that we had last year that got to play at the end of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how these coaching additions, obviously still waiting to see if Daboll or Cliff Kingsbury is the next OC, which was very, very, very important to the Tennessee Titans future. Who he brings in at coordinator is very, very, very important. But we are going to talk about this. And this is what got me a little teed up today. Why, once again, do we have the national media that feels that they don't have to know anything about the Tennessee Titans, but yet we want to make a mock draft where the Tennessee Titans take Maui Noah, which Maui Noah is a beast, but how many times do we have to say the Tennessee Titans had 11 offensive linemen on the initial 53 last year? Dan Moore is 82 million. Lloyd Cushenberry is 55 million. Kevin Zeitler was 9 million at right guard. He's a free agent. But like I just said, you have Jackson Slater and Moss sitting there at right guard that you could rotate guys that you groom. You got Crenshaw Dixon as the swing that you've been grooming. I expect them to bring back Oli Udo, not John Ojukwu, who Callahan wanted, but Oli Udo played pretty good in spell moments. And then you add in Corey Levin, a longtime Titan that should be back because he can play center and guard. A nice journeyman rotational piece to the offensive line. And then you talk about Peter Skoronski, who should get extended early at left guard, who's one of the best left guards in the league. And then you have J.C. Latham, another top 10 pick, who was injured the first 5 to 6 weeks of the season and didn't get back to himself until later. Heavily penalized, made a lot of mistakes, but down the stretch when he was healthy, you know the potential of what J.C. Latham can be at right tackle. I just do not see as many holes as the Tennessee Titans needing edge, needing wide receiver one, needing cornerbacks all over the roster, impact pieces. I just do not see the Tennessee Titans burning the number 4 pick for a right tackle. That would mean that J.C. Latham would be pushed inside. I just don't see it. Like, I could see if he had a mock draft where the Titans traded out of 4 and drafted a guard at the end of the first round, which I think Penn State has the highest rated guard. Then you got Basantis at Texas A&M and Pregnon out of Oregon. It's some opportunity to get guys to fill needs at offensive line. If you look at my last mock draft, I'm okay with you going with somebody you're gonna groom in the later rounds, but to pass on Ruben Bain, even if you wanted to go impact player like best overall and say Jeremiah
Let
Love,
me teach you how to vibe.
to get past, I just don't see it. Tate, Tyson, David Bailey. Is a lot of positions that they could have picked the Tennessee Titans, but that just tells me that oh, they got to protect Cam Ward. They need a lineman. And just randomly say, we're going to pick an offensive lineman at number 4 when the Titans have so many positions of need. It just furthers my point that I think there is a conspiracy theory that I believe that the national media just does not care for the Tennessee Titans. For what reason? I don't know. Roger Goodell was there promising the Super Bowl to Miss Amy with the new stadium that's coming. Just this past offseason, he was there when they put up the last beam in the infrastructure of the new stadium. Derrick Henry never got love on his 2,000-yard seasons. Titans was a number 1 seed. They still didn't care anything about the Tennessee Titans, and that's with Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, and Derrick Henry on offense. With Ryan Tannehill, never got any love. The Titans defense, Jeffrey Simmons is just now getting love. Chimere DK broke the all-time all-purpose record. No love. You know, he's a Pro Bowl starter, but you know, as far as any of the awards, Cam Ward, no primetime games. Year 1. I mean, pretty much any chance that they could get to not care anything about the Tennessee Titans, they take the time to an opportunity to do so. And I just think that anytime I see the national media speak on the Tennessee Titans, it's literally a laughing stock that, you know, somebody makes a mock draft and the Tennessee Titans is going to have 2 top 10 right tackles on the team in the last 3 years. I can you tell me why? Like why this person is making a mock draft and just drafting and picking something for the sake of picking something? Did the AI pick this, or did he actually go down the line and look and see the needs of each team and make it and draft? They said Maui Noah can play guard too, but why would you burn a top 5 pick on a right guard when you drafted a right guard last draft in the 5th round and you groomed him to play center or guard? When you still have Moss under contract next year at guard, you still have Corey Levin that you can bring back that can play center or guard. I just don't know, like that valuable of a pick that you're gonna burn a top 4 pick on a guard in the NFL draft. Rabbit really leaning towards drafting Love. And if any of y'all got any like ways that y'all would push out y'all mock draft, go check out my YouTube mock drafts. That I put out maybe like a week ago. I usually put one out like every couple of weeks, starting back in December. So I've been doing this for a pretty good while of seeing who would be available based upon who's actually coming out. But they'll be I'd be interested to see, you know, what you do with your free agency and what you do with the rest of your draft. If you take Love, I'm not against Love. The only thing about Love is you got a lot of money in free agency. You can cut Tony Pollard and burn $2 million cutting him and go a different direction. Tajay Spears is a top 100 pick that is on his last year along with Tony Pollard. And then you have Khalil Mullins, who's a short yardage back, who's 6'2", 225. They got to play later in the season. They look good in short yardage, but you don't know what he's got like all the way around. But that's a guy that when Edwards was on the cover of college football, he pushed him and took his job the year that he came out. So, you know, obviously K9, Breece Hall, it's a few free agent backs that's out there, but my opinion in where the Titans need to fill slots, Tony Pollard has had 1,000 yards every season. He's been with the Tennessee Titans, regardless of what dumpster fire has been around him. I don't think he's the long-term answer, but if I had 2 running backs on career contract years, I'd run them in the dirt until the bye week and draft somebody like the Bears did, Kyle Monunga in the 7th. You know, McCroskey married for the Commanders late round pick. You think about Pacheco, 7th round pick. You can get value backs. I like Henry out of UTSA. I like Nick Singleton out of Penn State. And I like Jamari Taylor out of Virginia. Some late 6th, 7th round guys you could pick up that, you know, if you got to the bye week and somebody wanted a veteran back like Tony Pollard, you could trade for him, or it's a lot of things you can do. Jeremiah Love would be like super dynamic for Cam Ward. I wouldn't be mad at that pick. If we was going to take a luxury pick, like let's say there's Jalen Phillips, there's Kayvon Thibodeau, there's Boy Mafe, there's Odafe Owe, you know, some edges like that that'll be in free agency. Now, let's say you you was able to sign one of those guys where you're not taking the edge at the top of the draft, then I could see love. You know, if you went out and signed Alec Pierce or Romeo Dobbs, you know, as a guy you want to come play one for the Titans, and then maybe Zachariah Branch or somebody like that, you try to take a shot at in the second, maybe third, and go that route, adding more veterans in, then I can see Jeremiah Love being somebody that you take a shot at, just because what he'd be able to do, you know, like a Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, people thought the Lions was crazy when they got Jahmyr Gibbs, and then all purpose, this dude can go home run on almost every play. So I won't be mad. I'm more with you on Jeremiah Love than taking a right tackle that you could potentially play a guard at 4. But if I'm not taking, me personally, if I'm not taking Ruben Bain, Arvell Reese, people like David Bailey at 4. I personally, unless he runs a James Pierce Jr. 4.4 in the combine, I'd trade out if I'm not taking the top edge. Keldrick Falk will be another guy. You know, we got to see Senior Bowl. We got to see combine, because, you know, somebody might see Nick Harbor at 6'5", run a 4.2 40 and do some Xavier Worthy type things and lose their mind. You know, things like that happen. People could get to the Senior Bowl and some guys might not be able to handle playing one's best on best. You know, some guys might emerge in some different ways. So, like, I wouldn't be opposed to trading out if we could get multiple picks. But, you know, if Bain or Reese or somebody's up there and Berganza and Saleh likes them, pull the trigger. You know, I wouldn't be mad at Jeremiah. I'm a running back type of guy, so I wouldn't be mad at Jeremiah Love if they took it. I'd understand. But going for at offensive tackle again, I'm not so sure. I'm an OSU fan. I would love Carnell Tate. He catches everything. Only thing about Carnell Tate is Carnell Tate might be good, but he ain't Jeremiah Smith. If it was Jeremiah Smith sitting there and I'm at 4 and he's there on the board, like, I would turn the card in for them. But just because Jeremiah Smith is, you know, the better receiver, don't mean that Carnell Tate wouldn't be good for the Titans. I just think at 4, Carnell Tate starts to sound a lot like Corey Davis. You know, and if we're going to go receiver, do I think Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson is that much better than Mekhi Lemon, Casey Concepcion, Chris Brazel, Jeremy Bernard, Denzel Boston, Jacoby Lane, Zachariah Branch, Chris Bell? You know, like, is a lot of receivers that's going to go in the first through the third round. Malachi Fields, Nick Harbor, Surratt, Cooper, the guys from Indiana. Like, it's going to be a lot of receivers in that second, third round that'll be available. And then, like I said, it depends on what they do in free agency. Do they go Dobbs or Pierce? You know, you think about the dunkers that's out there. If you see Alec Pierce do have 40 catches for 1,000 yards, you know, if you go out and get a guy like that, you know, you're not in a rush to take another receiver at 4. The Tennessee Titans didn't even figure out that Aomana and DK was any good until halfway through the season. You know, they were throwing bubble. They had Chimere DK, the rookie all-time all-purpose leader that runs a 4.3, stock blocking, so Tyler Lockett could catch bubble screens the first part of the season, trying to force feed Calvin Ridley the ball when he couldn't catch it. No run game. Brian Callahan, awful passing concepts. You know, Aomana and DK may be worlds better statistically this year, and then you throw in a free agent with them when Restrepo comes back, and you might be looking at more of a second or third round guy, not a first round guy. Titans, oh yeah, we already been on that. Statman in the building. 4 is high for Tate, but I definitely think he's a better route runner and just as good pass catcher. Smith just more physical. But this is the thing though, like when you draft, you're drafting for pure talent and what they could become, right? Like right now, Bain is better than Arvell Reese, but if Robert Saleh thinks he could turn Arvell Reese into Will Anderson, then I understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like James Pierce Juice runs a Jr. runs a 4.440 at edge. I don't know how, and I was saying this last year that I thought there would be better pass rushers than Abdul Carter. I don't know if you could see an edge rusher that runs a 4.4 and draft somebody way above him. Like, I can teach you some hand techniques if at edge you have size and you can run a 4.4. Like, Jeremiah Smith is a guy I could put in a phone booth and he's just gonna dunk. So I mean, like, you know, but then again, you know, Tate might just be a nasty route runner. He could be a Mecca Egbuka, a JSN, a Garrett Wilson, a Chris Olave. Like, Ohio State just has the pedigree right now, you know, but it's also the Titans have so many holes. You got 34 players signed a contract and you got to get a 53 plus. You know, the Tennessee Titans have to fill out holes. And I just don't know that throwing a fourth pick at Carnell Tate suffices. If I told you you could trade back and end up with Chris Brazel and Zachariah Branch, I can't say that having Tate at 4 or Tyson at 4 could beat having a pairing of Chris Brazel and Zachariah Branch combined with the trade back. I need value and I need pieces. Not mad at Alec Pierce. Yeah, I mean, my shout out to my boy Romels. He convinced me on Alec Pierce because I was just saying I don't want the bad team tax where we got to pay $25 million for Alec Pierce. Now, if we could get him for 15 to 20, then that's solid because, you know, him and Dobbs. You got Dobbs or Alec Pierce under 20 million. I could go for that. I think those are guys on the Titans as is right now without even a coordinator. I think those guys get you 800 to 1,000 yards right now without even knowing the offense. Like, they could get in audibles and get that out of the Titans. If we sign a right tackle in free agency like Braden Smith, I'd hope they take Ruben Bain Jr. Can't pass another edge channel like they did with Will Anderson. I mean, it's kind of like the Titans. Like, we passed on Luther Burden last year, but we got Femi and Kevin Winston Jr. So it's like that's kind of a way to explain it better. That's kind of the way the Titans got to attack every time. Okay, we got number 4. Is there a game changer at 4 that we believe in, like Bain or Reese, David Bailey, whoever it is, whether it's Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate, like whoever it is that they believe it is? You gotta weigh the option at 4 to say, if we trade back, can we get something like the Browns got last year, which is stay in the top 10 and you got the Jaguars first round pick the next year and you move up to where they got Carson Schlesinger, Quinshawn Judkins, Harold Fannin, and Dylan Sampson in succession. Now throw away the Gabriel pick because they just threw away a top 100 pick, but then they have their pick this year and they got the Jags pick. So it's like, you got to put yourself in that spot if you're rebuilding from the ground up, which the Tennessee Titans are doing. They're rebuilding. And then when you get to 35, you got to say, is there a game changer at 35 that helps us out? Or can we do like we did last year, trade back about 10 spots, and then you get Femi Oladejo and Kevin Winston Jr. So, like, let me get 2 top 100 players as opposed to 1. And then when they get to 66, they got to think the same thing. If we drop back to 75, can we pick up another guy around the top 100 or another 4th rounder? And then I had some people in my comments saying, bro, you're crazy. What are we going to do with a 4th round pick? Trading Will Levis for a 4th round pick, that doesn't help us. And then you got Chimere Dike, all-time rookie, all-purpose leader. Gunnar Helm, our all-time rookie pass catching leader. And then you got A.O. Monner, who paired with DK, gave you the first time in like 20 years, 2 rookies drafted to the same team, both had 40 catches, 4 touchdowns and 400 yards. So at the end of the day, the way we cleaned up in the 4th round last year with DK, Gunnar Helm, and A.O. Monner, somebody saying that the Tennessee Titans trading back or trading Will Levis to get an extra 4th, when if the Ravens would have made their field goal, we would have already had an extra 4th. But I mean, you talk about getting in a position where you can have a 4th, 2 5ths, and 2 6ths. And then if you trade anything else or you trade back, the Titans could, in the first 120, 130 picks, could pick 7 times. Like, that's what they need. Mixed with good free agent players like Woods, Sebastian Joseph Day, Draymond Jones, Jahad Ward, Darrell Baker Jr. Like when you get productive free agent guys that come in and help, that's more Oli Udo, Corey Levin. Like those are the type of guys that you want to get in free agent that just overall helps the 53. That's where the heart and soul and depth of your team is made up. Those 3rd through 6th round picks. I mean, Marcus Harris wound up being the best corner on the team last year as a 6th round pick out of Cal. I'm interested to see what Jackson Slater does. Do they continue grooming him for center, or do they let him play right guard, which he played at the end of the season? So if Jackson Slater turns out to be your starting right guard and Marcus Harris turns out to be your starting nickel, and then you got A.O. Monter, DK, and Gunnar Helm, and then your 3rd round pick, who we didn't have a 3rd round pick because of the L'Jarius Sneed situation, you wind up getting that back through the trade back, and you get Femi and Kevin Winston Jr., then you telling me you got a starting edge, you got a starting free safety, you got a starting slot and kick returner, punt returner, 1 Pro Bowler, you got a starting tight end 1, and then you got your number 2 receiver, which on a good roster is probably number 3 or number 4. He's the new NWI, A.O. Monter. Like you telling me that's what you added in those supplemental rounds with Jackson Slater, Marcus Harris, and Khalil Mullins. When he's healthy, he's been a good short yardage back. Like you striking and getting somebody in your 53 that is beneficial to your team, that produces and adds talent. Like that's what they need, and they need to do that top to bottom with the draft and free agency. They don't need to be stuck paying the bad team tax, trying to put duct tape on the boat, thinking that you're going to sign one free agent that's going to change the secondary, or one receiver that's going to change the wide receiver room. Like it don't work that way when you starting from the bottom. Like you got to just overall improve the whole entire 53, and then you got to develop through the draft. You got to draft and develop. That's what the good teams do. Michael B was good. 2 of the best players in franchise history we got in the 3rd round: Tyrann Mathieu, David Johnson, Kevin Byard. You know what I'm saying? Kevin Byard, Cedric Gray. Look at the players that, Amani Hooker. A lot of the good players on the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans used to be good at the undrafted free agents. Corey Levin, NWI, Aaron Brewer. Over the years, they've been good at finding guys that are undrafted free agents and turning them into something. And you got to be able to do that. 2 times, what up? Like, those are the guys that gel your locker room. Those are the guys that gel the locker room because they understand. Like Tony Pollard and Tajay are going to be on on contract years this year, right? Those undrafted free agents know what it's like Kendall Brooks working at Pizza Hut and being a starting free safety against the 49ers, and then turning around and having Robert Saleh leave the 49ers and come be the head coach of the Titans. For what it's worth, there would be a hell of a story if Kendall Brooks winds up making the roster as a depth rotational safety and special teamer for the Titans in this upcoming season, after starting against the 49ers and everybody hearing his story of working at Pizza Hut and becoming an NFL player and starting, and then that coach got to see you fight, and then may get to see you fight in camp and say, hey, this is a guy we want to keep around. This is a guy we're going to put at backup safety. This is a guy that we're going to put on the practice squad and elevate him to special teams and in depth if we have injuries, because he know what it's like for nothing to be guaranteed. And we like the fight that he has. So it's like, you got to think about things like that. Like, those are some incredible stories that come through building out a roster. Whew. All right, that's a good 30 hot, man. I had to go in on this mock draft though, because man, like the great Dick Gregory say, it ain't a conspiracy if I can prove it. So Tennessee Titans, no primetime games with the number 1 overall pick. I felt like they didn't want Cam Ward to go to the Titans. I felt like, you know, all season everybody said the Titans need this hard nosed leader of men, culture changer. A guy like Robert Saleh would be a great fit, and then when he does get hired, it's a bad fit. They need an offensive mind, even though a lot of the coaches that are having success right now are good defensive minds with a good OC. You know, it's like they just changed and moved the goalposts when it comes to the Titans. You know, like we been know what Jeffrey Simmons was. We like you see, you know, a young guy like Cedric Gray at the top of tackles in the NFL all season get no mentions. DK, you know, it had to just basically break the record to get any kind of recognition. So that's just part of it, man. Tennessee Titans, you know, like they have you believe that Kevin Byard just started playing football when he got to Chicago. Just looking, there are quite a few good young edge rushers that'll be free agents. Aziz, Chason, Adafio Way, Boy Mafe, Quiddy Pay, AJ Espinoza, Josh Uche. Don't forget Phillips and Kayvon Thibodeau too. What you missed so far, just going over that the national media, I think, has a bias against the Tennessee Titans. Like they made such a stink about saying about Amy and Mike Vrabel, putting out false rumors. You know, like every chance they get, you know, it's got to be the negative when it comes to the Titans. And even when the Titans do good things, like they still do things like this weird mock draft up here with us taking another right tackle at 4. So that's kind of been my spiel today, is going through that. And then the Tennessee Titans adding a run game coordinator and a D-line coach in White Cotton, who was on the staff with Saleh and on the Jets. So if y'all got any questions, man, now's the time to ask. Shop is open. It's like the doors of the church. So if y'all got any questions, pop off. This is late time in the shop. And if y'all came in late and y'all missed it, just know that you can follow my YouTube every morning at 7 Central Standard Time. I was doing it at 8, but then I realized people on the East Coast it'd be like 9 o'clock. You know, it kind of missed the early morning rush. So 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, the shop talks go up. So if you miss them, you'll be able to watch them back. Do me a good favor, hit a like, comment on those shop talks, as today is the day that our restrictions was lifted all the way back before Halloween in October, when we had restrictions on the channel. From a MCS where it was like a 30-second clip of a commercial that had some music in it that copyrighted all the way back then. Had to wait all the way to January 25th for those restrictions to be lifted on the account. So we should get better visibility on YouTube. So do me a favor, man, every morning, if you get a chance, man, like, comment, watch a little bit. You know, if you got any questions, throw them in the comments. I always take the questions that y'all have for me and add them to a weekly mailbag that I drop on YouTube. And y'all are greatly appreciated for that. They said, how do I feel about the new DC and line coach? The thing is he's attached to the run game coordination along with being a D-line coach. So I'm assuming what worked for them in New York was him being a D-line coach, preparing our D-line, and then looking at the opposing team's D-line, being able to set out a run game for run fits and tapping him in with Luke Stocker. We should really have some, because Luke Stocker, who turned the run game around after the bye week when the Callahans was out. So, you know, you put Luke Stocker, who a lot of people think will be a head coach at some point in the future, and you mix him with White Cotton, we should have something going in the run game next season. Depending on how this combine looks, would you be opposed to the Titans looking at Mansour Delane if he blows everybody away? I mean, if he's the next Pat Surtain, I'm with it, you know. But if he's not the next Pat Surtain, then you gotta think about Jamal McCoy, Will Lee. It's a lot of DBs. Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. You got it's a lot of DBs. But I mean, if Mansour Delane is cornerback one, I'm not mad. See, that's what I'm saying. Like the Titans can't just be picking on based upon need. If they got to get best player available by their board. So obviously they're gonna have edges ranked. Obviously they're gonna have cornerbacks ranked. They're gonna have receivers. They're gonna have all these positions that we need ranked. And if the best person to pick at that spot happens to be Mansour Delane, then that's what they should do. But I think like that might be a pick if like that could potentially be a situation where the Titans trade back to the edge of the top 10, pick up a couple extra picks, and then you see them take Mansour Delane. That like to me, Jeremiah Love, Mansour Delane, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson. If you was to trade back and do that, or let's say you traded back there and like you really like Keldrick Falker, David Bailey, and it was at the top of the top 10. You just got to really put out what's best for you at that spot. Like I wouldn't be opposed to if we had a for sure bona fide cornerback one in the draft. Like I wouldn't be mad at it. But you got to remember, like only thing is like Tennessee Titans will start getting in those flashbacks of like taking Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, and start thinking about Corey Davis. Taking a cornerback that's a can't miss guy, and it turns Adoree Jackson, which Adoree Jackson was good. It's just like he just wasn't this shutdown guy that they thought he was gonna be.